Hello everyone, in this video we're going to talk about how the employee module works. AlignBooks offers a dedicated module for employee management, attendance tracking, leave management, timesheet handling, and also for generating payslips. But before we get into all that, there's a bit of setup that we need to take care of first. So for that, we'll start by going to Configuration and then head to HR Payroll Setup. Now, this setup is divided into four main sections: salary structure, statutory, overtime, and attendance. In the salary structure section, as you can see here, I've already added a few components. Now, if you want to add more components, you just need to click on the plus icon, then mention the name of the component. For example, I'm creating one for incentive. After that, you need to provide an alias. You can choose whether you want to round it off or not, and whether it should be editable, so in my case, I'm selecting yes. Then you have to choose if it's taxable. Select yes if it is. Now, there's also an option to specify if the component is presence-based, meaning it depends on whether the employee is present. So you can select yes for that too, and if it's not based on attendance, then go ahead and select no. If it's something you want to add to the salary, choose addition, and if it's a deduction or a floating component, you can pick those options accordingly. Then you need to select the ledger where this component should be posted. I'm selecting incentive to staff, and similarly for wages posting GL, I'm also selecting incentive to staff. Once you've done that, click on Save. So that's how you can add an additional salary component. By default, the software provides only the basic component, but if you need more, you can always create your own as needed. Now let's move on to the statutory section. If you wish to enable things like ESI, Provident Fund, or Virtual Provident Fund, you can do that right from here. Just enable ESI, and you can also define its components from the screen. There's also the Provident Fund option. If it's applicable, just turn it on. And in case you have a virtual PF setup, you can enable VPF as well. Similarly, if you want to include admin charges in CTC, there's an option for that too. You can enable that right here. Then we also have the option for Labor Welfare Fund. Just toggle that on if it's applicable. If TDS is deducted on salaries, you can also enable that option from this section. And just like that, you also have the option to enable professional tax from here. Now let's move on to the overtime section. If you want to include overtime in the employee's salary, you can simply enable the overtime applicable option. After that, you'll need to mention the minimum number of OTRs required. Then, you can define whether the overtime is based on early in, late out, or both. Then we also have the option for negative OT. So, let's say an employee is leaving early or coming in late. Well, in that case, we can actually deduct that time as negative overtime from their salary. To enable this feature, you just need to click here. Now, you'll be asked to specify whether this negative OT applies when the employee is leaving early, coming late, or if you want to apply it in both situations, you can simply select both. After that, you'll need to enter the working hours per month for salary purposes, and similarly, the working hours per month if the employee is working on wages. There's also a round-off option available in the overtime section. You can select how you want to round it off, upper, lower, or actual. Once all that is set, just click on Save. Next, we move to the Others section, where the first thing you'll see is the attendance type. Now here, there are four options: daily manual, monthly with daily tracking, and daily auto. If you plan to manage attendance manually from the desktop every day, then you can go with daily manual. But if your employees are marking attendance using the mobile application, then you should select daily auto. On the other hand, if you don't want to track attendance every day and prefer a simpler setup, you can select monthly. And if you're tracking attendance daily and also want to maintain a monthly summary, then the best choice would be monthly with daily tracking. Moving on, we have the leave deduction based on setting. Here, there are three options: actual days, working days, and fixed days. If you choose actual days, then the salary deduction for leave is calculated based on the total number of actual days in the month. If you choose working days, then the system calculates the per day salary based on total working days. And if you go with fixed days, then you can enter a specific number of days, say 30 or 31. And the salary deduction will be based on that fixed count. Then we also have the suppress weekly off setting. Now let's say there's a holiday and the employee takes a leave right before or right after it. In such cases, you may want to consider marking those surrounding days as unpaid too. So for that, you need to select the option suppress weekly off/holiday. And here you'll find options like absent day before, absent day after, absent day before and after, and absent day before or after. You can choose what fits your company's leave policy. If you have a particular date on which salary is processed every month, you can go ahead and select that specific day here. And if the salary is generated at the end of the month, you can simply choose the end of month option. Next, if you have a fixed weekly off, for example, Sunday, you can select that here. And similarly, for the second weekly off, if it's Saturday or any other day, you can define that as well based on your organization's schedule. Now coming to the timesheet input mode, there are several options available. If you want to create a timesheet where you can select multiple employees at once, you should go with the multi-employee option. If you want to create timesheets for multiple dates in the same voucher, then select multi-date. And if you want both multiple employees and multiple dates, then just go with the third option, which supports multi-employee and multi-date together. We also have the option for timesheet-based billing. Here, you can choose how you want to track the billing, employee-wise, activity-wise, or employee and activity-wise, depending on your business need. Now, let's say an employee works on an off day or a holiday. You can define how to compensate for that. You can choose none if you don't want to provide anything extra, or present if it should just count as a normal working day. You can also select overtime if you want to give extra pay, or leave if you prefer granting an additional leave in return. Then we have the salary posting option. If you're managing multiple branches, AlignBooks lets you post salary branch-wise. Alternatively, you can choose to post the salary centrally at the head office. Now, if you need additional information in your timesheet, you can enable or create attributes like project, work order, and site. These same attributes can also be used for salary allocation. And if your organization requires any custom fields while creating or managing employee profiles, you can add those under custom fields. For example, I'm creating a UDF here called identification number. You can also create up to 5 timesheet-specific attributes. I've already added one for project management. Once you've completed all the necessary configurations, just click on Save. So that wraps up our HR payroll setup. Now, the next step is setting up holidays. To do this, go back to Configuration and select Holidays. Every organization has a set of holidays, and you can maintain that list here. First, select the year, then click OK. After that, you'll need to enter the description of each holiday. For example, I'm adding Independence Day. Then, select the from date and to date. In this case, I'll choose August 15th. Let me go ahead and add one more holiday, Christmas. Once you click Save, your holiday list will be saved successfully. As you can see here, we now have 2 holidays listed for the year 2025, one for Independence Day and another for Christmas. After setting up the holidays, we move on to roster-wise holidays. This option is useful when employees do not have a fixed weekly off but instead follow a rotational or roster-based schedule. To configure this, go to Configuration. Roster-wise holidays. First, select the year, then choose the month for which you want to define roster holidays. Next, select the specific day you're assigning offs for example, Saturday, and click OK. A list of employees along with the selected dates will appear. Now, suppose Deepak Dubey has his weekly off on April 5th and April 19th, and Himanshu has his weekly off on April 12th and April 26th. You can mark these accordingly and then save the data. These weekly offs will now be assigned as per the selected dates for each employee. After completing the HR payroll setup, we now move ahead to the employee module. The first option here is Employee Master. This is where you can view a complete list of all employees in your organization. If you want to add a new employee, click on Create New Employee. Start by entering the name of the employee, let's say Employee 1. You can also enter optional details such as father's name, mother's name, and card number, if required. Next, you can fill in the address of the employee along with the PIN code and phone number. Note, if you wish to allow employees to mark their attendance through the AlignBooks ESS mobile application, then the phone number is mandatory and should be entered in this field. If the temporary and permanent addresses are the same, you can simply use the copy address option for convenience. Then, enter the joining date. This is a mandatory field. For example, I'm selecting April 1st as the joining date. Now, if you want to grant the employee access to the AlignBooks ESS app, you need to enable the option Allow AlignBooks ESS application access. Once enabled, you'll be prompted to set a password, which the employee will use to log in. If an employee is working on a salary or wages basis, you can select the respective option here. Then we come to a list of statutory components like ESI and PF. If ESI is applicable for the employee, just enable the ESI checkbox. Similarly, if PF is also applicable, go ahead and enable that too. Now, you'll need to enter the ESI number and the PF number for the employee. Then mention the ESI start date. For example, I'm entering it as April 1st, 2024. You can also optionally add the bank details and educational qualifications of the employee. These fields are not mandatory, so feel free to skip them if not needed. Next, we have the experience section, where you can note the total experience of the employee. Then we move on to the leave policy. Here, you can enable the leave types that are applicable to the employee. For example, I've already created casual leave, earned leave, and unpaid leave, and I'm allowing all of them for this employee. After that, we come to the salary structure. First, select the date from which the salary will be applicable. I'm choosing April 1st here. This is a mandatory field. Now, mention the salary structure. As you can see, I've already created a few salary components. By default, only the basic component is provided, but you can add more as needed. Let me enter some example amounts here. My incentive is a variable component, so I'm skipping that for now. It will be added later when we calculate the salary. As you can see, both the in-hand salary and CTC are calculated automatically, and if ESI or PF are applicable, those are also auto-calculated. Next, we have the posting field. Again, you'll need to select the posting date. I'm choosing April 1st again. Then you need to select the designation. This is a mandatory field. There's already a list of designations created, but you can also add a new one from here if needed. If you're managing multiple branches, then selecting a branch is also required. Now choose the department. And again, you can add more departments if required. Finally, select the employee shift from the shift options available. If you want to mark attendance, you need to ensure the shift timing is selected. By default, the software includes a default shift from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. However, if your organization has different working hours, you can create a new shift by specifying the desired time range. Once created, this shift can be assigned to the employee. As you can see, the custom field we created earlier for identification number is also visible here. I'll go ahead and fill that in. After completing all the necessary details, simply click on Save. This will create the employee profile in the system. Once an employee is added, you can also directly print their offer letter. To do this, select the employee, click on Print, choose the format, for example, Job Offer Letter, and then click Print. The system will generate the letter instantly using the available details. After creating the employee, the next step is to mark their attendance. To do this, go to the Employee Attendance section. Select the date for which you want to record attendance, then click on Display. A list of employees will appear, and you can mark the present employees by checking the box next to their names. If you've already assigned shift timings in the Employee Master, the system will automatically fetch and display them here. Once done, click on Save to confirm. To verify attendance for the selected date, click on Display again and the saved data will be shown. You can also view attendance records through Reports. Navigate to All Reports, More Reports, and under Employee Attendance, Leaf, you can view detailed attendance data for the selected date. If you have multiple employees and prefer not to mark attendance manually, AlignBooks provides an import option. There are two formats available. Without date format, use this to mark attendance for a single date, e.g., today. Just download the format, fill in the employee details, and upload it back. With date format, use this when marking attendance across multiple dates. In this format, you can specify the employee code and attendance date row by row. After preparing the sheet, go to Import, select your file, and click OK. The system will then automatically update the attendance data. If your employees are using the AlignBooks ESS mobile app to mark their attendance, you can manage it through the Attendance Approval option. Just select the date, click OK, and you'll see all attendance entries awaiting approval. You can review and approve them directly from here. At first, the status will show as not approved, since these entries haven't been reviewed yet. Once you're ready, click Save, and the status will automatically update to approved. Now, let's talk about attendance correction. Sometimes, employees may forget to mark their attendance correctly, maybe they miss the punch-in time or clock out late. In such cases, we have a simple solution. Go to Attendance Correction. Select the employee, choose the date, and specify whether you want to correct the in-time, out-time, or both. Enter the correct values and click Update. That's it. The attendance is now updated. Next, we'll move to the advance management process used to track advances or loans given to employees. To begin, we need to enable an attribute. Go to Configuration, then Company Setup, and select Finance. Scroll down to Attributes. Click on Create Attribute, then select the required financial years. Allow blank values if needed. Enter employee as the name. In the list type, choose Employee. Click Save. Now that the attribute is created, we'll enable it in the required ledgers. To do this, go to Finance, then Chart of Accounts. Open the ledger titled Advance to Employee. Scroll to the Attributes section, enable the employee attribute, and click Save. Repeat this process for other ledgers too, such as Salaries and Wages, Salary Payable, and Loan to Employee. Once done, don't forget to click Refresh to apply the changes. To record advances given to employees, go to Finance, then Receipt Payment Voucher. In the cash or bank account, select the payment mode, for example, HDFC Bank. Next, in the ledger, select Advance to Employee. Enter the advance amount given. Then select the employee's name. Select Debit and click OK. After saving this entry, the advance will be recorded for the employee. Now, moving on to the next step in the employee module, which is Manage Leave. Here, you will see 4 options. First, you can create or generate leave types, then you have leave application, leave adjustment, and leave encashment. So, let's start with Employee Leave Master. By default, there are 3 leave types: casual leave, earned leave, and unpaid leave. You can create more leave types if required. Click on Create New Leave. Now, mention the description, for example, I'm creating a leave type called sick leave. Next, select the type. For this, you can choose sick leave. Then, select if the leave is given yearly or monthly. If it's yearly, select yearly flat. But if a particular number of leaves are given per month, select monthly flat. Here, I'm selecting monthly flat and giving 1 sick leave per month to each employee. Now, decide if the leaves are transferable. If the leaves can be carried forward to the next month, select Yes. Otherwise, select No. Finally, you can choose if the leaves are encashable at the end of the period. Select Yes or No based on your policy. These options are only applicable in the case of earned leave. Once everything is set, just click on Save, and this new leave type will be created. Now, to enable this leave type for specific employees, you need to go to the Employee Master. So, open the employee profile, scroll down to the Leave Policy section. And here, you'll see the newly created leave type. If it's applicable to that particular employee, simply enable it. Once done, click on Save again. Now, if you want to update the previous year's balance manually, or maybe you want to set up the opening leave balances, we also have an option for that. Yes, you can import the data, or you can even enter it manually. To do this, first click on the Opening Transaction tab. Then, select Opening Leaves. Here, you'll be able to see the list of employee names along with their leave types. Next, select the specific leave type and enter the number of leaves. For example, I'm entering 3 sick leaves for one employee. And then, just click on Save. Now, let's move ahead and talk about the process of marking a leave application in the software. So for this, go to Employee, then Manage Leave, and then select Leave Application. Now, we'll select the employee first, and then the leave code. Only the leave types that were enabled for that employee will be visible here. As you can see, I've enabled 4 different leave types for this employee. I'm going to mark a sick leave application. Recently, I updated the opening balance to 3 leaves, so that's already showing here. Now, I'll select the date for which the leave is required. If the employee is taking leave for only the first half or the second half of the day, you can select that as well. Then, enter the reason for leave, and finally, click on Save. Alright, moving on. We also have an approval system for leave applications. So, let's say the employee is marking their leave from the mobile application, and you want someone else, like a manager or approver, to review and approve that leave. For this, go to Configuration, and then Approval. You can select a 1-level or even a 2-level approval workflow. Here, I'm selecting 1-level approval. Then, you can assign a default user who will be responsible for approving the leaves. Once a leave application is marked either by the employee themselves or by someone from the HR team or another user, the approval process will begin. You also have the option to set an alternate user, just in case the main approver is not available. This alternate user can approve the leaves in their absence. And yes, we also support options like advanced leaves and advanced approval workflows, if your organization requires more complex setups. For this, you need to click on Advanced. And from there, you have a couple of options. You can either enable location-wise approvers, or you can choose to enable Employee Reporting To. Now, if you select Employee Reporting To, then the reporting manager of that particular employee will automatically have the authority to approve the leave if the employee applies for any. Next, let's move on to the leave adjustment feature. So, suppose for any reason, you want to increase or decrease the leave balance of an employee. For example, if the employee is taking leave this month, but the leaves are actually meant to be accrued next month, then in that case, you'll need to make a leave adjustment. To do this, first select the employee. Then choose the leave code or leave type for which you want to make the adjustment. Now, if you're adding leave days, select Accrue. And if you're reducing the number of days, then go with Deduct. In the Days field, enter the number of days you want to adjust. And once everything is filled in, just click on Save. That's it. The adjustment will be successfully recorded. Now, after leave adjustment, we also have the option of leave encashment. So, let's say an employee has some earned leave balance after a certain period, you can allow them to encash it. To begin with, you'll need to select the employee, and then choose the leave type. Right now, for this employee, I haven't enabled any earned leave, so it's not appearing in the list. Let's go ahead and select another employee. For the leave encashment entry, once again, you'll select the employee and then the leave code. Keep in mind only the leave types in which earned leave is enabled will appear in this list. In my case, I have a comp-off leave type enabled, and here you can see the balance available for that particular leave. I'm going to encash all 4 leaves at a rate of 1,000 each. If you have any special remarks, you can write them in the provided field. And finally, click on Save. So yes, that's how you can make a leave encashment entry. Now, moving on to a very important part. The payroll process, and how you can generate the payslip. To start with the payroll process, go to Employee Payroll, and then select Monthly Attendance Process. Here, select the month you're working on, and then click on Process. You'll also be able to see the status here. For now, since I haven't processed any attendance or salary, the status is showing as pending. Here, the paid days are calculated based on the attendance marked for each employee. Also, if you have enabled overtime for any employee, then the overtime will be automatically calculated. Now, if you've already marked the leave applications, then those paid leaves will also be included in the calculation. And for the days where no attendance is marked, those will be considered as unpaid leave. Once everything is verified, we'll go ahead and click on Save, and just like that, this data will be saved in the system. If you want to view the same data again, you can simply click on Display. And here, you'll be able to see all the details that were saved, along with the updated status, since now, the attendance has been successfully processed. Now, if you want to import data instead of manually entering it, we've got you covered. Just download the import format, and then use the import button to upload the paid days directly. We also have a very helpful filter option. So, if you want to process attendance or generate a payslip for just one employee, or maybe for a specific department or branch, you can use the filters to narrow it down. Once the monthly attendance process is complete, the next step is to go to Employee Payroll, and then click on Salary Process. Again, here you'll select the same month. If you want to process salary for a particular employee, you can use the filter, select the employee, and then click on Process. Now, all the paid days that were saved earlier will be visible here, and based on those, the salary will be automatically calculated. Also, if you've marked any advance entry for the employee, that advance will be deducted from the gross salary, and then the net payable amount will be calculated. If everything looks good, just go ahead and click on Save. Now, let's say you want to make a change. For example, you want to add an incentive. Suppose I've created an incentive field for an employee and I want to add an incentive of 2,000 rupees. I'll simply mention the amount here, and yes, it will be added to the net payable. Once you've made the changes, just click on Save, and the new data will be saved. Now, if you want to review the old data, again, you can just click on Display, and you'll see all the previously saved entries. If you wish to process it again from scratch, just click on the process icon and start fresh. There's also an import option available here. So, if you want to directly import the net payable or the salary structure, click on Import, download the format, and then upload the updated file using the same button. Once the salary process is complete, the final step is to go to Employee Payroll, and then select Post Salary and Finance. Up till now, we've processed everything, but no financial entry has actually been posted in the software yet. To post the financial entry, you simply need to click on Post Salary. So, once you're ready to post the salary into the books, you need to select the month for which you're creating the financial entry. Next, if you want to post it branch-wise, just go ahead and select the specific branch. After that, you'll need to pick the date on which the entry should reflect in your books of accounts. Now, once you click on Post Salary, the system will automatically pass an accounting entry for the salary payable for that month. And that's it, the salary is now officially posted. But wait! If you'd like to check the reports related to the salary payable to your employees, you can go to All Reports, then select More Reports. From there, you can view all the detailed salary information. Now let's move on to generating the payslip. For this, you need to go to Employee Payroll, and then select Generate Payslip. Choose the month for which you want to generate the payslip. And yes, if you're looking for just one employee's payslip, you can use the filter to narrow it down. I'm generating the payslip for Employee 1. You'll also see multiple format options, so pick the one you prefer and then click on Print. Just like that, you'll have the payslip ready. And if you want, you can also email the payslip directly to the employee on their registered email ID. Super convenient, right? Now, moving on to the next step, salary appraisal. Usually, whenever there's a need to appraise or increase the salary of an employee, you can record it through this option. So for that, go to Payroll, then click on Salary Appraisal. First, you need to select the effective from date, that is, the date from which the updated salary should be applicable. For example, I'm selecting May 1st. Then, go ahead and click on Display. Now, the employee data will appear, and you can easily update the salary components as needed. Once you've increased the desired amounts, just click on Save, and that's it, the new salary is now effective. Just one important thing to note here, always make sure you've selected the correct effective date, because that's when the new salary will start reflecting. And yes, if you want to do this in bulk, you also have the option to import the updated salaries. Just download the Excel format, make your changes, and then upload it using the import option. Now let's move on to the employee expense claim process. So, if an employee is incurring any expenses on behalf of the company, and you're reimbursing those expenses later, you can handle all that here. To start, go to Expense Claim. First, you need to select the employee who has incurred the expense. There are already multiple expense heads created in the system, so from here, you can simply select the nature of the expense. For example, I'm choosing Conveyance Expense. Now, go ahead and mention the amount that the employee has spent. Once done, just click on Save. And that's it, this becomes the expense that the employee is requesting for reimbursement. You can also enable the approval configuration for expense claims if required. For that, you just need to go to Configuration, then to Approval, and from there, you can enable the approval flow. Now, once the expense claim is submitted by the employee, the next step is to approve it. So for that, you need to go to the Employee Expense Claim Process section. Here, you'll be able to filter the claims based on their status, like whether they are pending or already cleared. I'm selecting Pending for now. Now, once you have the list of claims in front of you, you can select the one that was made by the employee. To process the claim, simply review the details and then enter the approved amount. If you want, you can filter by employee as well. After entering the approved amount, you need to select how you're going to reimburse the employee, that is, choose the mode of payment. For example, I'm selecting HDFC Bank. Then go ahead and click on Save. And that's it, this is how the expense made by the employee on behalf of the company gets reimbursed. Now let's move on to the timesheet feature. So, if your employee is dedicating a specific number of hours to a particular customer, you can track that using the timesheet module. To do this, go to Employee Timesheet. First, you'll need to select the branch, then the employee, and then the date. Now, mention the number of hours the employee has worked or dedicated. After that, choose the customer for whom this time was spent. If needed, you can also add remarks or comments. And if you've enabled any attributes under the timesheet settings, those will also show up here. You can select the relevant attribute. Once everything is filled in, just click on Save, and that's how you record time entries using the timesheet. Next, let's talk about the end of service process. So, if any employee is leaving the organization, you can handle that here. Start by selecting the employee, then mention their date of resignation and the notice period. Let's say the notice period is 1 month, so the relieving date would be, say, May 22nd. You can also mention the reason for leaving, and once that's done, click on Save. Now, the final option in the Employee module is Employee Remarks. This is useful if you want to record feedback or notes about an employee, for example, something related to appraisal or for their personal development. So, go to Employee Remarks, select the employee, and then choose whether it's a positive remark or a negative one. You can also select the seriousness level and provide a description or detailed feedback in the Remarks section. After entering the details, just click on Save. And that's it. This is how you can manage the complete employee module in AlignBooks, from financial entries and leave management to payroll processing, salary appraisal, expense reimbursement, timesheets, end of service processing, and even employee feedback. Thank you for watching. We hope this helps you make the most of